Wow, it's a rainy day. What am I going to do with myself? It's been raining almost all day. There's an old song that says, rainy days and Mondays always get me down. But you know what? Rainy days don't have to get us down. There's a lot of things that you could be doing on your rainy day. What do you like to do? I like to read sometimes, maybe take a nap. What do you like to do? Play video games? Play board games? That's terrific. There's lots of things to do on a rainy day. Some people have collections, and a rainy day is a great day to work on your collection. Why don't you come and see some things, some collections that I have in my house. So over here, I have some seashells. And I've lived in lots of different places, and many times they've been by the ocean. And these are some seashells that I've collected over time. Actually, this beauty is one that Lindsay brought home from a trip that she made down in the Caribbean. Seashells are a lot of fun to look at when you think they each one have a story that they could tell about how it was formed. Seashells are really cool to collect. There's lots of things that you can collect. Some of them are sort of unusual. This is a collection of campaign buttons that Lindsay collected when she was in high school. She learned about this president that we had, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was our president for about 12 years during World War II. He was a really impressive president that we had. Some people collect campaign buttons. I also have a collection of old keys. You think that's a little odd, but it's really fun to find them. Sometimes I find them in my house, or I find them in an old antique store. It's really neat to find them, and then you wonder, what would a key like that open? Or how about this one? What kind of stories could this key tell if it could talk? I often think this one might have opened somebody's jail cell. What do you think? That's sort of fun to think about. This is a collection of treasures that I found in the backyard of this old house that we bought here in Hubbell. Every spring I go out and I clean up the yard, and I inevitably find some really cool things in the yard every year. Like, I love this old marble. Isn't that cool? Look at the color on that, huh? And there's this marble here. And then I found this really cool little Hot Wheels car. I wonder about the little boy or girl that owned that one time. And then there's some glass beads. And I even found this gem. It's really plastic. But I was pretty excited when I found it, because I know that this old house that we live in was once owned and actually built by a jeweler. I wonder if that's the kind of stuff he put in somebody's fancy ring. I don't know. This is really interesting. This is an old Chinese coin from the 1700s. Mr. Olson spent a lot of time doing some research, and we found out that there was actually a laundry service over on the highway that was owned by some people that came from China. Do you think they might have come all the way from China with them? I bet they did. And this is even an old pipe stem that somebody had. It came from where, Mr. Olson?
Maybe the Netherlands, or maybe southern Germany.
So how about that? So that came from Europe somewhere. So sometimes you just never know the treasures that you can find. Over here is my most prized possession of all. It's my rock collection. And here I have lots of really cool rocks. This is actually a piece of obsidian that I picked up when I was in northern Canada one time. This is really cool. This is actually some igneous rock that came from South America. Who would ever think? Let's see if I can put it back together. I don't know. But it does fit perfectly together if I monkey around with it long enough. And it was just one big rock, and somebody cracked it open and polished it up. Isn't it beautiful? That's really neat. Then I have some interesting agates and a piece of amethyst and some bismuth. And this is a beautiful piece of galena and some more amethyst. Rocks are really fun. Sometimes I like to look at them with this little magnifying lens. This is also some old salt and pepper shakers. They're made out of pewter. They're really old. I found them in an antique shop and spent a lot of time cleaning them up. And if you look really carefully, you can see some leaves that are engraved on the side of these salt and pepper shakers. When I got them, they were all black and really tarnished, and I polished them up. It was sort of another kind of treasure that I found. So I added that to my rock collection. And collections are fun on these rainy days. Sometimes I just like to sit and look at my rocks and I organize them. And there's so many fun things to do on a rainy day that it doesn't have to make you sad or blue. You always think of something you can be doing. So I thought it would be sort of fun today to read a book about a little girl who's probably about your age. And her name was Anna. And this is a story of a collection that Anna has. The title of the book is Anna's Tale by Eve Bunting, illustrated by Taya Morley. This has beautiful illustrations. My Aunt Em knows how much I love all nature things, and so she bought me a table for my room. Just like a table for my rocks. On it, I have a jar of beach rocks, smooth and cool, the color of the sea when there are clouds. I have a fiddler crab, long dead, its back like crumpled tissue, and its coral legs hinged. Touch them with care, or they might tear. I have a spiral shell that held a mollusk once. My dad went in the ocean, shoes and all, to bring me this. And then a big wave came, bigger than Dad. He disappeared. We cheered. When he appeared again, holding the shell above his head, "Our hero," Mother said. It's a shell just like mine, isn't it? In my room against the wall, I have a nature table. On it, I have a seahorse, elegant and small. He could be wax, not real at all. I have a box of tiny bones that came, I think, from some poor mouse. They were in owl pellets that I found scattered around the oak tree by my house. Poor little mouse. But Dad says this is nature's way. An owl must eat to survive, to stay alive, must hunt just to survive. We know all about food chains, don't we? I have a caterpillar curled and mummy black, a lizard thin and wide, run over by a car. Just see how carefully it's made. See how my lizard is as pale a shade as jade, and just as beautiful. I have a seagull skull I found once buried in the sand. I have a piece of bark shaped like a hand, its fingers long and thin, as those of Miss Lenora. She teaches me guitar and says I would be good if I would practice more. I have 2 dried and dusty nests that fell one windy night. I have a shark's tooth and a geode cracked across so I can see the crumbly crystal crumbs inside. Look, she has a cat. Just like I do. See, this is Rosie. She's over here investigating the rock collection. I have a blue jay's feather and the backbone of a garter snake that looks like a puckered ribbon, and a dried up honeybee no longer striped, so white that it could be a daisy head instead. I hold it, and I think how once it flew among the flowers and buzzed away the hours. I have a pomegranate, hard and dry. I saved this one. My mom and dad made jelly from the rest. That jelly's much too beautiful to spread on bread, Dad said. What we have here are jars of liquid light. You're right, Mom said. We ate it, every bite. Have you ever had pomegranate jelly? I haven't, but pomegranates are fun to eat. I have a drift of butterflies. Their colors orange, bright. How beautiful. We found them in the grass one night after a cold, strong wind and sudden freeze swept them from the trees. The butterflies arrive each spring in Lighthouse Park and rest before they rise again and fly to southern skies. These will fly no more forever. My mom came home and got my basket, patted it with ferns so they would have a nature bed. We'll put them on your table, Mother said. Sometimes I take a treasure to my school and show my friends how clever nature is, how bone fits into bone, each to its own, the beauty of a river stone. In my room against the wall, I have a nature table filled with the wonders of earth and sky and sea, each one of them a miracle to me. So, on these rainy days, it doesn't have to be a sad, dreary day. There's lots of things you can do. If you don't have a collection, you can start one. Think of all the things that you could collect and have fun with. Things that you could learn about, like ancient Chinese coins and pipe stems from Europe. Old Matchbox cars from some little boy who's probably all grown up and maybe even a grandpa today. So use these rainy days. Make a collection. And when you get your collection together, or maybe even just started, send me an email and tell me about it. If you can take a picture, send that to me too. I'd love to know what you're collecting. Thanks for sharing my collections today. Have a good day, guys, and stay dry. Bye.